Coming to paperback and e-readers in 2021, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks on a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business in 2021 at online booksellers everywhere.
Hi everyone, it's Sean here with another book review video. Now, when I went to the Schaumburg Black Comic Book Festival last year, I went specifically looking to support several Black independent comic creators. And as I was looking for the products of people like Black Sands and the creator of Tuskegee Heirs, I also ran into a sister who had created a fantasy called Diary of a Mad Black Werewolf. And this book kind of came out to me because the title reminded me a lot of Tyler Perry's Diary of a Mad Black Woman, and that made me intrigued to find out what was making this werewolf angry and what was making this werewolf so angry that they were looking to go on the rampage. Now, this is more of a storybook than a comic, but the artwork in here is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it has a nice dark tone to it, and it fits right in with the storytelling that's presented here. And as the book opens, it opens again with this nice establishing shot, which takes us into the introducing the story. Now, we get a great scene of the city again on the second page, and on the third page, we get the lead character, the sister who's out here on this cold night and is hunting her prey. So we got the werewolf who is out here, and she's a sister, and she's looking for the prey, and that prey is at this strip joint, and it's this rogue police officer. Now, this is where some would say, oh, there's some identity politics here, but I don't really see it as identity politics because this is something that goes on in the Black community. A lot of Black people have to deal with these injustices that are perpetrated on a lot of our young brothers out here. And this author does a great job of showing us this in a horror context, because a lot of us think we have no power, but in her fantasy, she's finding a way to mete out power and get out justice for our brothers out here. So this fantasy is one that shows us that the creatures of the night are going out to get justice, and this werewolf has a reason for being angry, and what makes her angry is the fact that Black people can't get justice in their human form. So in her monster form, she's going to get justice for Black people. So that's what the werewolf is mad about, and that's what she's seeking to rectify. And she's rectifying it by going undercover at the club and talking to this, again, race soldier. And as she's talking to the race soldier and seducing the race soldier, who has no problem going out here and getting with a Black woman, but he'll kill a Black man, showing us the hypocrisy of the race soldier. He then finds out that the Black woman is a real monster, and this monster is out to go get her some dinner, and she wants to get a nice big plate of pork chops. So that's what happens here, and I don't want to give away too much of this book, but there were some images in the book that really reminded me a lot of my own work. Like in the first ISIS, there was a scene where the werewolves are taking on the Ku Klux Klan, and I wrote a similar scene to this in the 15th chapter of the first ISIS, where Isis, after seeing her family get murdered by the Ku Klux Klan, her husband was lynched, and her son, he was stomped on by these Ku Klux Klansmen. This is the thing that led to ISIS snapping and murdering these Ku Klux Klansmen. And this scene right here really reminded me of that climax of that 15th chapter of ISIS. I mean, that's the type of justice that ISIS met out on those Ku Klux Klansmen. And it looks like the Mad Black Werewolf did the same thing as related to this scene. Now, that's what this scene really reminded me of. And this image, again, is about black people taking power. And that's something that is a major theme of the book, is about black people taking power as related to dealing with these racists and race soldiers and white supremacists, and sending a message that we are not going to let people push us around. It's a good theme to have in a book like this. I mean, some people would think of it, as being, again, social justice, but this is what people, they don't think black people will do, but this is what the kind of fantasy this woman has. She wants to talk about meting out justice in the most horrific fashion. And this is something that most racists, they can't handle seeing these types of images, because they present an idea of what they fear happening. Now, there was another scene in the book that reminded me of a story that I wrote, the novel I just wrote and published, Eternal Night. And in Eternal Night, there was a scene where the character Malice goes out here and he's on tour, and he gets in a bus, and the bus stops. And in that scene in Eternal Night, the bus stops and they go over this they go over to this embankment where these homeless people are. And before they go over, one of the characters, Vincent, says that there's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Now, that was a scene I wrote in Eternal Night. And when I looked at this scene, when they're in the elevator talking about this ICE raid, it reminded me a lot of that scene that I had wrote in Eternal Night. So I don't know if it's like minds think alike, but this scene was quite similar to what I had written in Eternal Night. Now, this is a very interesting book, and again, it's a horror story, but it's a horror story only to the white supremacists, because it's presenting a fantasy where black people are taking power. And this book would make many a racist very uncomfortable, but I wasn't really fazed too much about this book, because part of fantasy is black people using the images in fantasy to take power. And that's what this sister was trying to do with this book, is show a fantasy where black people are taking power and making sure that they protect their communities. And it looks like these mad black werewolves were taking power and taking control over their community. So it's a very interesting book, and it's one that I went out here to pick up because I thought the concept and the premise was interesting. And this one is one that is, as I see it, for some people would be an acquired taste, but it was one that I found to be, again, a very interesting one. And I'm glad that I spent some money on it, because it was a very interesting concept. And it's not the type of fantasy you see all the time. You don't really see too many fantasies where the black person is not afraid of the white person, because usually in most horror stories, everybody who's black is either afraid of the white person or scared of the white person. This one, again, reminded me a lot of what I put in the 15th chapter of the first ISIS, when she took on the Klan. And this was one that was in a similar frame of thinking, that if these racists want to go out here and do harm to black people, that there would be others who would be out here to mete out justice on them. And this one, again, it showed us why these black werewolves were mad, and it showed us the white man's, as I see it, greatest fear, black people who were not afraid to take their power. And that's an interesting message, again, that I think people would be interested in reading. And if you want to pick up a copy of Diary of a Mad Black Werewolf, I'm going to leave a link to it in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my action-packed African-American fantasy, on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy. You can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me go out here and be able to support more Black creators, because I'm not going to be able to go to the 2021 Black Comic Book Festival because the 2021 Black Comic Book Festival is going to be online due to the pandemic, you can drop a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App so I can have the funds to continue supporting Black creators and giving them a voice on this platform so their work can reach more readers all across the world. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Blast from the Past. Hell's aspiring angel takes on her demonic doppelganger in this action-packed, time-traveling E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Blast from the Past with a bonus E-Steam comic book, No Good Deed, in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.